allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jonathan Ramsey,
Here.
Marianne Rosa. Here. Ken Demers,
Here.
Robert Tessina,
Here.
Anthony DeBona, Gary Lafferty,
Here.
Robert Ritalik,
Here.
Denise Russ, here, and Rachel Ryan.
Thank you very much. Public comment? Anyone that would like to come up and address town council, please do so. State your name and address for the record.
Al Mickle, 95 Woodbine Avenue. I've got a lot of notes here, so I want to make sure I hit the highlights of them. And I think I talked to the town manager before the meeting about the FOI form, and he explained to me how it's going to be used, and they're still working on it, so that's a done deal. I'm a member of the Commission on Aging, and I had my second meeting, and I suggested that the ordinance that created the Commission on Aging is out of date. That it says there will be a maximum of 5 members of one party. Well, the charter says minority representation. On a 9-member person, that's 7 people, I think. So I believe the ordinance needs to be corrected, or at least somebody saying that the ordinance is still correct and it's a 5-person. So I would suggest the next time the ordinance committee meets, they take a look at that ordinance, which I think is 2-192 or 182 or something like that. When I brought it up there, they didn't think it was important, so my motion didn't get seconded. So that's why I'm here. Now I want to bring up the 2 major projects, or 3 major projects that we have coming up, and one of them being is the new police station. And I think that we should think about how we're bundling those 2 together, and maybe it'd be wiser not to bundle them together. Things are going very slowly because there's such a large package to package up. The police station, the police chief identified the multiple reasons why that police station is inadequate. And that was done in 2019. And we're not a lot closer to breaking ground at all. So my suggestion is you break those projects apart, build the police station, and then concentrate on building the senior center and community center. You might worry about bonding and things like that. But no matter what, you're going to bond all of that anyway. Whether it's more expensive to bond it now or bond it later, again, one of the reasons we have the bonding limit and the way the financial director rearranged the bonds so they come down in a much steeper slope, it gives us an opportunity to take advantage of that slope further in the future. So I would suggest that you decide to focus on one of those buildings, the police department first, and then on the second, the senior center and community center. Thank you. One more thing, I'm sorry. I have lots of notes here. Some of the arguments against voting for the budget was the fact that, we have old people and poor people. So I wondered what poor people, how many poor people we had in town. And it looks like there's only 5% of the town is poor, which is probably a big number. But the majority of the poor people are females between the ages of 18 and 24. So maybe we're not hitting the seniors or hurting the seniors by raising the taxes. The median rent is $250. Now, some people might say that, renters don't pay taxes. Well, the landlord owns the building and he pays taxes, so taxes are being paid. The median household price was $242,000. This is not a poor town. We can afford, $80 a year? So I'm hoping that this budget passes and we can get on with building the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yep.
Joe Pollack, 173 Middlebury Road. After the last budget defeat, I decided to look a little bit more closely at the numbers. So I contacted the superintendent's office and asked for specific details regarding certain areas of interest that I had. Subsequent to that request, I got the Town Times this past week, and the superintendent had a very nice article in there regarding the budget. I did not look at that article very long because it was short on numbers. It was all generalities, basically. So after a second request from to the superintendent's office, I finally got the information that I was looking for. What I was looking for specifically in this case was the number of, and I've touched on this subject before, staff positions working for the Board of Education, non-teaching, non-classroom, whose salaries exceed $100,000. They did come out with a list, which they emailed to me. I noticed in an article in the paper regarding the budget that Councilman DeCina mentioned the fact that at some point during the budgeting process, a similar request was made to the Board of Education with no results. But I'm happy to say that I did get the results. The interesting thing surprised me because I had history on previous requests. So for the record, the number of personnel on the board, working for the superintendent, including the superintendent, making $100,000 or more is 20. Their salaries equal $2,618,461. I went back and I looked at my records which I obtained from previous superintendents. In 2008, the same category, staff positions making $100,000 or more, there were 8 people in that category. And the total salary for those 8 people was $907,641. Now, admittedly, that was a few years ago, over a decade. So I went back through my records again, and I looked at a more recent set of figures. This was 2017, a mere 5 years ago. I can still see that in my rearview mirror. There were 15 people on staff making $100,000 a year or more. The total salaries for those 15 people was $1,830,903. So for those particular areas, if I can find my notes here someplace, the increase percentage-wise from 2017 to today in people was 33%. The increase in salaries was $787,557, 43% increase. And if you look at 2007, it went from 907,000 or 906,000 to 2,610,000, I believe I said. $2,618,000. The increase there is something in the order of 43%, if I remember correctly. So my point here is that in developing your budget, I fear what you were doing was looking at last year and comparing it to the request for this year, as opposed to looking at historical data to see what's happened in this particular area, the Board of Education. Some might wonder why I look at the Board of Education. Some of you may remember a guy named Willie Sutton, who was a notorious bank robber back in the 40s and 50s, and he was asked, "Why do you rob banks?" He said, "Because that's where the money is." And the Board of Education probably uses somewhere between 60 and 65% of the town's budget. So that's why I spend so much time looking at numbers for the Board of Education. So as far as your $500,000 cut from the Board of Education budget that is proposed and will be at referendum in a couple of weeks, I would suggest that you haven't even scratched the surface. If you look deeper, you'll find more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place in Oakville. I was on vacation, so I could be wrong. Before I say anything, have we hired a deputy chief? I don't think so. If we have, you can stop me. Okay, thank you. So it's going on 2 years now that we're budgeting for that, and we're not hiring. And I would suggest that somebody find out what the problem is, because as a taxpayer, I don't really like to fund a position that's vacant. And also, is it possible that maybe we should change the makeup of that department? If we can go for almost 2 years without a deputy chief, maybe we can do something different and avoid that position, because quite honestly, I'd rather see a social worker and another officer. So maybe there's opportunity for something like that. I also would have to say that in my gut, I feel like we're holding this position waiting for someone to either get some schooling that they need to get the position, or for someone to retire from maybe another force, because this is just weird. It's just absolutely weird. I know that there are people that have worked in that department that were qualified, probably still are people that are qualified. Some have been retiring. I haven't kept track of that, but something's not right there, and it's very strange to continue to leave that position open. I want to point out our mission statement. Our mission statement. We seek to be a town where citizens are valued. I don't know if anybody's paid attention to Watertown Talks Facebook, but a woman had to go on there pleading for help because she's on the list for tax foreclosure, tax auction in August. This woman, her husband became ill. They were making weekly payments. He died. She couldn't keep up with it. And he died in October. Her house was put on the list less than 6 months from his death. What kind of citizen value is that? 4 of you have don't want to raise the taxes in town, but you gave some employee an 11.5% raise, $15,000. Now we're going after $9,000 from this woman. We can't wait until her husband's case goes through probate, when she could then refinance or sell her house, because right now she can't. Is that being valuing our citizens? I mean, something's really wrong here. Not only that, if you look at the 15 houses that are on the foreclosure list, she's second to last in what is owed. There's one guy at $8,000, she's at $9,000, the rest are over $10,000 and up to $32,000. Do we really need to do this to a widow? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know who's paying attention to any of this stuff, but I think it's ridiculous. I think it's shameful. When I'm listening to some of you say, you know, times are tough and whatever, we're going after a widow? for $9,000, and we're giving raises to people who don't deserve them. And I know that other people think because some people are working very hard. Well, don't forget, when you hire people that aren't qualified, then they feel like they work extremely hard. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Motion for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 16th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Through the chair?
Turn your mic on. Nope. Herm? Yep.
Yes, sir. I'd like to have a correction be made into these minutes. Page 6, the 7th full paragraph, beginning Robert Cena, I'd like to make an amended motion. Going down several sentences, it says above the superintendent. That's not what I said. I said below the superintendent. It was in my notes, and I remember saying that, below, and it changes the whole content, above. It should read below. That's what I said.
That change is noted. Anyone else? So all in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye. Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I have nothing to report other than our referendum for next week. Make sure everyone gets out and votes, or sorry, 2 weeks. Mark?
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Watertown Town Council. Just bring you up to date on our COVID cases. We've had 79 positive COVID cases over the last 2 weeks, over 707 people tested, and we were at a 26.2% positivity rate. We're going to maintain our services and meetings as we have been doing. We're learning how to work within this COVID outbreak. The noise ordinance is still pending with the response of DEEP. I did check in with our attorney, and he has checked in with the state of Connecticut, and we're just waiting for a response, a review and a response. The Wilson Street Bridge, we're pending a bid process as well as for the Guernsey Town Road. Steelbrook Greenway, we're continuing our discussions regarding the scope of work and pricing. No additional update on Naugatuck River Greenway. We're still negotiating with highway police and unions and supervisors union. We are coming to kind of ahead with our highway department, so I'm expecting to have a tentative agreement shortly. Our tabletop hurricane response exercise went off on May 24th. We were very successful procedurally, although we did identify some pre-work that we can do for the future to make us able to respond better and move through an emergency such as that. We've also identified some IT issues that we need to get fixed inside our emergency operations center. As you recall, I'm sure we applied for 2 grant funding projects with Congresswoman Hayes' office, and we've been pushed forward to the next level. So our 2 grants were one of 15 in the 5th district, or actually there was 2 grants. They were moved to the House and Means Appropriations Committee, and we should get some feedback in the November area as long as the Congress and Senate stay in positions they're at. The funding looks good. If there's a change, we may not have funding through appropriations. We have a notice to proceed letter was issued for Middlebury Road area drainage to Stony Brook Construction, so we'll be starting that project shortly. Our LPR plate readers, the chief told me today that they will be installed tomorrow, and a live date will be in the near future as we work with Eversource to get them powered. The chief is assembling a 5-year plan for the department during the month of July. The chief and I spoke today, and he's going to present in July the results of his survey and some input from the council as he prepares that 5-year plan for the department. So if you want to give some thought as to some of the comments you may have for him, that would be helpful. The deputy chief's position is being posted this week, and we'll be moving forward with that position. As much as some people have made comment on this position, the department has been evaluated. The chief and I have discussed the makeup of the department, and I believe that our experience supersedes what the suggestions have been made by some people from the public. We'll move forward with that position. I did receive a resignation letter from the town clerk. The Democratic Registrar of Voter, Sally Kussis, has resigned, and we have sent a letter to our friends at the Democratic Town Committee to fill that position. The Memorial Day Parade was very successful and well attended. I'm sure some of you, or if not a good portion of you, that were there. And a topic that is very important is obviously the mass shootings that took place in Texas. The chief of police, myself, and the superintendent will be meeting with all the parties involved in a hazards meeting. We're going to review our policies and procedures. We're going to work towards identifying some issues that may have prevented police officers in Texas to moving into that room. We're going to talk about these items and see if we could actually create a better plan for response to these matters. God forbid in Watertown we ever had to respond to that. We'll be doing that on Thursday, and the plan is to move towards a tabletop exercise before we go back into school. And I would hope that we could get together and actually do a response drill to see how everybody works together to make sure that we're on top of our game for when it comes to things like this. And just to make a comment regarding the tax collector and the issues of sending properties to for tax collection. There's a procedure in place, and the procedures were followed. The tax collector made me aware of the issue specifically that was spoke about tonight. And there was attempts to make contact with the family, and obviously with what the family was going through, there was no response. So normally what the tax collector does is she moves forward and she stays consistent, because it's important for us to be fair to everybody, and that includes when we go and we do tax collections. We want to follow our procedures. All procedures were followed. That's all I have for you.
Thank you. Moving on to, actually, any subcommittee reports? Nope. Moving on to new business.
I make a motion to approve the resolution setting the mill rate to levy taxes on motor vehicles for fiscal year 2022-2023 at 32.46, which is the state tax cap for motor vehicles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, do you want to just briefly explain why we're setting this before the budget's done and kind of what the state's making us do?
Yes. So the state has put a cap on the mill rate for motor vehicle at 32.46 mils. That's statewide. When they passed this bill through and it became law, it restricted us all to 32.46 mils. We were also told that we would be receiving compensation for the difference between what our current mill rate or whatever municipality mill rate is. We are probably going to run $125,000 short on what the state will be reimbursing us on this cap. But we are obligated to impose this mill rate, and we would like to do that prior to the budget vote so that we could get the bills out for motor vehicle taxes.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to approve an appropriation from the general fund in the amount of $6,422.02 for police overtime. Funds have been received from the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration as reimbursement for participation in drug enforcement activities.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to approve an appropriation from the general fund in the amount of $7,308.52 for police overtime. Funds received from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for distracted driving and high visibility enforcement have been received.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to approve an appropriation from the general fund in the amount of $2,604.42 for police overtime. Funds received from the FBI as reimbursement for participation in gang task force activities.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to approve a bid waiver for the purchase of an upgrade to the current supervisory control and data acquisition system software for the Water and Sewer Department. Such SCAD system to be provided by Integrated Control Systems for an amount not to exceed $32,990.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes?
Just for clarification, water and sewer, we don't have anything to do with their money, so why would this be coming before us? I mean, they bring their budget to us, but it's their money. We don't tell them what to do with it, so why would we be involved with this?
Basically, you're just giving them the approval to go through with the bid waiver.
So
So
we
we're
need to give
approving-
them approval to spend their own money?
That's correct.
Because it's over the bid amount.
This is the bid waiver.
No, I realize that, but I didn't think they had to come before us because we just rubber stamp their budget and everything. We don't say anything about what they do with it.
They do need your authority to go outside the bid waiver.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No, sir. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the transfer of funds between line items for fiscal year 2021, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And just for the record, the transfers, one's with Crestbrook, going from golf professional to golf professional and maintenance, land and building, to fuel and gasoline. And then there's also for the fire department, going from other equipment maintenance and firefighting equipment to vehicle maintenance. Any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing an appropriation of $2,486.26 for tax refunds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the tax refund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Recording stopped.
You guys.